WRKS Pickens Jackson.
Hey, what do you say we sing a driving song?
There's not going to be any singing around here. Just
real sports.
On the Afternoon Drive with Jake Wimberly.
Oh, this is going to be sweet.
And it's all right here, right now on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Well, double ring, double skip. Hey, it is the Afternoon Drive, Champ in the Chair, Tuesday edition of the program. Hope everybody's doing good. If you got some roof damage, I know some people that did over the storm. Boy, the storm last night. That was a, poof. Did it get bad where you were at? I mean, it was, what? It didn't get bad where you were at.
It didn't get bad. I mean, there was a lot of thunder and lightning, rain, but, I mean, nothing crazy. I didn't get blown away.
I think we got like 3 inches down in the county. It's a lot of rain. A lot of rain. But you may have been asleep.
I probably, yeah. No, you know what, though? I woke up at 1 o'clock this morning.
It was still going.
And it wasn't doing anything at my house. There was a little bit of lightning and thunder still going at 1, but all I noticed was Schmidt was still messing up. But,
yeah,
you know. I will take cable messing up over anything bad happening.
There you go. Hey, but if you had roof damage, ecmalone.com is the website, 8337-MALONE, our good friends at Malone Roofing Services. You can give us a call, 601-897-1059, if you want to be a part of the program. We're powered by and brought to you by Ameristar Casino. Get out and see Keith and the team. A lot going on at Ameristar with, obviously, the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 coming up. You've got futures in the NFL, also Major League Baseball, obviously. A lot of good stuff. College baseball, everything you can play at the end zone at Ameristar. And you can text us on the Cowboy Maloney's text line, 601-885-3776. Make your house a home today with Cowboy Maloney's, 13 locations around the state. Online at cowboymaloneys.com. And we are on X at Jake Wim. 2 locations to serve you. Brought to you by Clinton Body Shop. That's Richland and Clinton, OEM factory certified. All the manufacturers you trust at Clinton Body Shop. Kelley Ford, 4:30 to 5 o'clock. We'll with thelines.com. And, of course, also, K Ford Ratings. We'll talk some basketball. May talk a little football. David Johnson at 5:15. We will talk Ole Miss, baseball, and football. Let's see. Real unnamed texter comes in. Heidi said, hey, let's play Powerball Mega Billions. Mega Billions with a B. If I win the $1.13 billion today, I will give every texter from today's show $10,000. $1 million to the host of this show, including $10 million to Beeve. Now, why does the host get ripped on that? Now, I am very grateful for this money, but the host gets $1 million, Beeve gets 10. There's a caveat to this.
Yeah, wait. Yeah, before you turn your nose up at $1 million.
There's a caveat here. To Beeve, if he goes to every football game that Primetime coaches this year, wearing a Primetime jersey, and also must take and pass Primetime's class. I didn't even know he had a class. Oh, yes, right. He is a professor there now. I do remember hearing that. Also, a lifetime supply of Popeyes to Brooksy and Country Pleasing to Matt Wyatt. Good luck. I like that this is back and that the real unnamed texter has his Powerball playback on the text line. What do you think about this? Are you ready for this?
Yeah, that's a deal. I'll take that $10 million.
So you'll take the class. You'll go to every football game. I mean, if you win the $10 million, then you can just probably, I mean, you don't have to pay for anything, right? You can just go ahead and book every flight, every hotel. You'll be ready to go. Mm-hmm. Ready to go. Toddy, I'm in. But I will give you and Beaver $20 million each. So I like how Toddy just upped the ante that quick.
Oh, Toddy. Now, Toddy, are we really getting this money, or are you just trying to show up the real unnamed texter? Hey, whatever. Real unnamed texter, your move. We getting 30 now? Because Toddy's got you now.
Got a negotiation going on. Hey, you remember that Prep Super League everybody was talking about? The Prep Super League, the league for high school football talent. that will allow all athletes to profit off name, image, and likeness is set to debut April 27th with 12 markets. Quote, we're up to 100 4- and 5-stars that have committed to playing it. So I want to get into this. This was something that was mentioned. Remember, we talked a little bit about it last year, but it has resurfaced. So there's going to be this Prep Super League. We'll tell you about this. I'm going to have to try to get Pete Nakos on the phone to talk about this. Toddy, promise. Oh, he says, I'm in. Oh, he just says promise. All right, a lot on the basketball transfer portal. Auburn, and again, you're going to continue to see this over the next few weeks. As teams get knocked out of the NCAA tournament, basketball players will dive right off into the pool of the transfer portal pool. Auburn guard K.D. Johnson plans to enter the transfer portal. Also, got some numbers on the NCAA tournament from Dan Wetzel. He says that they said there were no superstars, fewer blue blood contenders, more competition. NCAA tournament ratings are booming away. So don't mess with the formula. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I know there's all this about, well, hey, don't mess with the formula because of the ratings. Don't mess with the formula because of this. Mess with the formula because of this. Jack with the formula. Let's increase this because of this. This tournament is so big. There's another gnat flying around here. Did you notice that? It's because spring is here. It's got to be, right? So the gnats start flying. It's weird. Got to get some more gnat traps in here. I don't think the ratings, I don't think it matters if it's 64, 68, 70, 78, 82, 84. The ratings are going to be big. They're going to be big for March Madness. We will get into that. You know, we were talking about yesterday, there was no Dallas Cowboys news, only Jerry Jones. Well, today we have Dallas Cowboys news. Have you seen this? The Cowboys and Dak Prescott have a mutual understanding of his contract and the situation, says sources, with no offers from Dallas, despite him being in a contract year. Owner Jerry Jones said, quote, we are where we are, locked and loaded for this year. So, as Ian Rappaport says, this is a clear path now that Dak Prescott will likely test free agency in 2025. What do you think about this?
I don't believe that. I think Jerry Jones is going to pay him. Jerry Jones loves this guy.
Does he?
Yeah, that's all you ever hear. And it's not his fault that the Cowboys are awful every year either. You know, we've had this discussion. Is it Dak Prescott's fault? Is it blah, blah, blah? No, it's Jerry Jones's fault. It's not on Dak Prescott. And you know how Jerry falls in love with players.
Mm-hmm.
And coaches, Jason Garrett. So, yeah, I have no doubt that he's going to offer the next absurd NFL contract to him.
Well, what if I told you, this is just a what if. Nobody's told me this. I've not read this anywhere. I'm just, you know me, I'm going to read the tea leaves. And the tea leaves sometimes tell me stuff that are real, and sometimes they tell me stuff that are not. What if Jerry isn't happy with Dak? Like, maybe he likes Dak, but maybe he's getting tired of Dak. Maybe he's looking for a better value. Deion Sanders said that he is going to have an immense impact on where his son goes. He's already said, we will Eli Manning this thing. Jerry Jones and Deion Sanders are very close. What if the ball is rolling already on the back end of this thing to where Deion brokers a deal with Jerry Jones to maybe not be the head coach, but to be the associate head coach? And Shedeur Sanders is the Dallas Cowboys quarterback they take in the draft next year. Saving money, getting Deion back in town, Shedeur. I just had an epiphany. Like, it all just came to me. And maybe it's just like a poot. I have no idea. But what if?
Okay, I'm going to go with you. And I'm going to see your crazy scenario involving a liar of a head college football coach. And I'm going to give you another ridiculous scenario involving yet another liar of a head football coach. Your guy, Jim Harbaugh. I'm surprised you didn't exclaim this yesterday. I saw where Harbaugh went a step further, is still talking. Now he says J.J. McCarthy is the best quarterback in the draft.
I missed it.
So, what if this is all leading towards, okay, if he's the best? Harbaugh wants to get rid of, sounds absurd, get rid of Justin Herbert. He's going to send him to Dallas so he can clear a path for J.J. McCarthy. I know none of this is real. I'm not serious about this. But anyway, so he's going to send him to Dallas and get his beloved J.J. McCarthy in San Diego. San Diego, Los Angeles.
It's always San Diego. Could be. Just as I do a little Google search, this went right under the radar November 30th of this past year. ForTheWin.com. Jerry Jones meets with Deion and Shedeur Sanders, and NFL fans couldn't help but speculate, what if?
Wait, say that to me again.
ForTheWin.com had an article on November 30th, 2023. Jerry Jones meets with Deion and Shedeur Sanders, and NFL fans couldn't help but speculate what it means.
What they meet about?
We'll get into that. I got the article right here. NFL.com, also NFL on Twitter, talking about it as well. This is back in November. I think we're onto something here. I think we're definitely onto something. 601-885-3776. That's the Cowboy Maloney's text line. Hey, get custom gutters on your home. If you don't have them, get them. After especially nights like last night. And then, of course, if you have them, you need repair, screen guards, maintenance, all that stuff. Go to GuttermastersLLC.com. Get protected today. 601-503-7755. Also on Facebook as well. Tuesday edition of the program. Kelley Ford at 4:30. David Johnson, 5:15. Back in a bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come to go
Back to the afternoon drive with Jake Wimberly. With the hottest sports stories of the day.
For one of those moments, it only happens right here
On ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
We're brought to you by A1 Gear and Auto. Over 15 years of great service serving the state of Mississippi down in Florence on Highway 49. Hey, if you need your radiators, engines, starters, alternators, heat, and air conditioner. Also, anything on the back end, rear differentials, rings, and pinions, 601-939-1060. That's 601-939-1060. Let A1 help you today, your hometown vehicle specialist. Brought to you by Maristar Casino. It is Tuesday. All right, let's see here. We're talking a little bit about this Dak Prescott news that is out there. And it's, in the grand scheme of things, you see these kind of reports all the time, right? Joe Burrow hasn't signed his new contract or whatever. Patrick Mahomes, we get to these negotiation points, or, you can see it in the distance, like, hey, you got 1 year, got to get this done. But Ian Rappaport today reporting with the NFL Network that it doesn't look like there's a clear path right now to an extension. And this is going to likely pave the way for Dak Prescott to at least test free agency in 2025. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to become the quarterback of pick a team in the NFL. He could re-sign with Dallas. This is where the negotiations really start between Dak's agent and Jerry Jones and all the, Stephen Jones, all the people over there in the management side of the Dallas Cowboys. But I'm starting to get a feeling that this may be the last year for Dak Prescott. And I really do believe that Shedeur Sanders might be at least in the sights of the Dallas Cowboys because of the relationship with Jerry Jones and Deion Sanders, because Shedeur has proven himself, and I think you'll see it again this year if he can stay healthy. He's a pretty darn good quarterback. He's not bad. And he's being projected as a top 10 pick next year in the NFL draft. And that Deion Sanders has said, and look, a lot of people's going to call this poppycock, and I get it. It's just whatever. But that's it's what we do on Sports Talk Radio, right? If I sat here and just gave you the Dak Prescott is going to rescind his contract and likely get paid no. Let's figure out what's really going on here. Just like I've always told you, Greg Sankey is the smartest man in the world. Outside of Elon Musk, Greg Sankey probably runs right in there under Elon Musk. But I feel like because Deion has been so adamant, and he did it like over the last 5 days, that, hey, we're going to Eli Manning this thing. We're going to go where we want to go. We're not going to play for somebody we don't want to play for. And Travis Hunter, by the way. Is there a scenario out there, and I would have to really dig into this, where Dallas could possibly give the house up, so to speak, for both these guys? That's probably way too out there. Way too out there. Let's see here. Unnamed texter. Beaver is the only one with any sense, but how can Jerry put together teams that win 12 games a year, but it's his fault they can't win in the playoffs? Would you like to take that question? That's actually a really good question.
Yeah. When I say, I think I said last segment, I think I did use that phrase, it's Jerry Jones' fault. Now, yeah, I still can't figure out whose it is, because I say that only because he's the only common denominator. You know, we've seen coaches get blamed. We've seen Mike McCarthy gets blamed, you know, and former coaches, obviously. Dak Prescott gets blamed. CeeDee Lamb didn't show up against the Packers, so you blame CeeDee Lamb. But I only say Jerry Jones because it's been 30 years. It's been close to 30 years, and he's the only common denominator in this. Multiple coaches, multiple quarterbacks, multiple receivers. So, but when it comes down to it, I still don't know who to blame for all this in Dallas.
Yeah, not me either. PT for MSU, drafting Shador and putting Deion on the staff would be the most Jerry Jones thing ever, wouldn't it? Like, tell me you can't really see that happening. I mean, there's scenarios where, there's no way that's ever going to happen. But with that, we're talking about Jerry Jones here, and we're talking about Deion Sanders. Biggin, Dak is a choke artist. And I got a text from a friend earlier that said he hopes Dak is gone because then he can start get back to cheering for the Cowboys. What? Let me ask you this. Does Dak get falsely criticized?
Yeah, I think by a lot. It's just because it's mainly because of it's Dallas. Their fans are so ridiculous. Maybe the fans are to blame because every year they're just so hyped up more by their own people than seemingly every other team every year. And when you fall short of expectations, but it seems like in Dallas, everyone has expectations, obviously. But in Dallas, it seems like the expectations are voiced so much louder than everywhere else. Maybe we can put it on the fans. Let's just assign equal blame to all these people.
I think you're onto something because, look, Dak's no chump. He's a good quarterback. He's not Patrick Mahomes, but who else is, right? There's only one Patrick Mahomes. Who would you say is number two? Is it Lamar Jackson? Or is it a healthy Joe Burrow? Or is it Josh Allen? Some people may even say Brock Purdy, but I think that's more, I hate to call him a system guy. I'm not doing that, but I kind of am. Who's number two?
Talk about more ridiculous expectations is the Bills. I'll go Josh Allen. It's so crazy to me because I've told you repeatedly how Josh Allen, his interceptions disgust me. Every year they're so much higher than they should be, at least to me. They're ridiculously high, but he also throws for a lot more touchdowns and a lot more wins. I actually saw the other day he has the highest winning percentage for a quarterback without a championship since the 60s.
Really? Josh Allen.
So they're winning, I guess, but I guess that's the same boat as Lamar Jackson is too. He's a great regular season quarterback. They just can't get it done in the playoffs. But if we're ranking, I guess I'd rather go Josh Allen. I could absolutely see the argument for Joey Burrows too.
Well, look at Dak's stats. I mean, 67% completion percentage for his career. He has thrown for almost just under, like, one ball game shy of 30,000 yards. Like, he'll pop that, bam, game 1 or 2. 202 touchdowns, 74 interceptions. That's a really good touchdown-interception ratio. He's rushed for 1,884 yards in his career, 28 touchdowns. If he was the Atlanta Falcons quarterback, I don't know that this criticism would be there. I think you're right. I think it's because it's Dallas. And just like we don't like to give Notre Dame a lot of credit, there is still something to be said about those gold helmets and Touchdown Jesus and all the stuff that goes with the stuff. Even though they're nowhere close to Alabama, they're still Notre Dame. Dallas is nowhere close to the Patriots. They're nowhere close to the 49ers. They're nowhere close to the Packers. Not since 1992 and 93, but it's Dallas. Does that make sense? So I think it is the Dallas. It's the helmet. It's the star. It's Jerry Jones. It's big-time football, right? It's so much noise. And I do not need a Brandon Bulldogs or Brandon Cowboys reference on this either, by the way.
Well, now you've opened yourself up for it.
Let's see here. St. Louis Vic. Real quick. Well, I'll get this a little lengthy. I'll get to that here in just a second. Vic, we'll get your text and others coming in. Got to take a time out. We're brought to you by Kubota. Now is the time to get a great deal on a Kubota Z200 Series more. With the new K-Ride comfort system, the Series delivers a quality cut and an exceptional ride. Get a Kubota Z200 Series more with a K-Ride comfort system. Now 0 down, 0 APR for 48 months. Go to KubotaUSA.com for more details. That's KubotaUSA.com. Back in a bit.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And welcome back to the Afternoon Drive with Jake Wimberly, where he's talking about anything and everything that's Mississippi sports.
No, great afternoon.
Right here on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online worldwide on the Zone1059.com.
Streaming on the Zone1059.com. It is the Afternoon Drive Tuesday edition of the program. We'll have Kelley Ford coming in at 4:30 to 5 o'clock. K Ford Ratings talking basketball for the weekend. Also some college football. David Johnson at 5:15. We'll talk Ole Miss sports. We're brought to you by the Westin and Jackson. Of course, great location. Go to westinjackson.com. If you haven't been down there, you're missing out because Westin Jackson is unlike any hotel in the area. Estelle Southern Table, open every day. Grab lunch, breakfast, or dinner, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m., also 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. For more information, go to westinjackson.com or call 769-235-8400. Savor the richness of their Southern-inspired dishes at Estelle Southern Table. Also, don't forget about Soul Spa, which offers a wide range of body scrubs, facials, also the cabana massages, and more. Guys, take your lady down there and you can tell me thank you later. Take her down to Soul Spa. It is a fantastic spot. And guys, hey, do you like massages?
You know, I've only once in my life have I gotten a professional massage. It was all right.
Should I try to get you one? Would you take it if I got it?
Yeah, I'll take one.
All right.
Of course.
I mean, we're going to see. We're going to see. All right, let's get back to this. We're talking Dak Prescott just because it came across today, if you're just joining us. Ian Rappaport reporting that Jerry Jones today said that, you know, where we are and we are locked and loaded for this year. Would not speculate Dak Prescott's future. And Ian Rappaport in the NFL Network team thinks that this is going to open the door for Dak to really test free agency in 2025. Now, that doesn't mean that he'll be the quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals or the Atlanta Falcons or the New Orleans Saints, but at least there's that, that testing that happens between the player, agent, the market, and then the negotiations. But I have a theory that I think this may be it for Dak this year because Deion Sanders and Shedeur Sanders. And I want to get into this article here in a bit that just really went under the radar. Last year, Jerry Jones meets with Deion and Shedeur Sanders, and NFL fans couldn't help but speculate what that meant. First, St. Louis Vic says, okay, Jake, let's play devil's advocate and say that the Cow Pies make a deep run next year, end up with a late first-round pick. Does old Jerry pull a Mike Ditka and sell everything? I'm writing this not knowing what Dallas has or will have in terms of picks moving forward. Yeah, I'd have to look at that too, Vic. Are we past the Mike Ditka bad trades, or do we still have people in the NFL that would still make these kind of trades?
No, I don't think. That's crazy to think that was 25 years ago now. 25 years ago this year. But no, I think they've learned in those 25 years. I don't think we'll see anyone literally give up an entire draft for one player. It's too valuable now.
It is. Unnamed texter. Jerry Jones has given jobs to Oklahoma Sooners for years when he could have hired or drafted players from other teams, so I can definitely see him looking back on that connection with Deion Sanders and his connection to his son, because Jerry likes to keep things in the family and local as much as possible. That is all true. Biggin. Talking about Dak. He can't win the big games. He makes bad decisions under pressure. There is that. At least today there is that, right? I mean, and we go through this with sports figures all the time. I mean, you go back to, believe it or not, before Michael Jordan won his first one, people were questioning, can he win the big one? It was hard to believe, but they were questioning, can he win the big one? Because remember, they ran into the Pistons for a couple years, and they couldn't knock the Pistons, kept shutting the door on them, and then they finally got over on the Pistons. So Jim Harbaugh, Michigan. Nobody thought, and everybody thought I was crazy for picking Michigan. Pfft, Michigan had done this in years, decades. Poppycock, word of the day. And then he did it. So until Dak proves he makes the big third down play in the playoffs to move the chains, or he makes a big touchdown with 20 seconds to go to win the ball game. He hasn't done that in those moments, and until he does, I don't know that people. Same way with Lamar Jackson, right? Same way with Lamar Jackson. Same way with Josh Allen. More bully. Dallas is the biggest what have you done for me lately with their fans. Let's see here. Okay, that's going to catch us up there. Let me get into this. Jerry Jones meets with Deion and Shador. And this was back on forthewin.com back in November, right at the end of November. November 30th, if you want to go find it. Said ahead of the Dallas Cowboys game against the Seattle Seahawks on Thursday night, Dallas owner Jerry Jones had a very interesting meeting ahead of the contest. Jones hobnobbed with Deion and Shador Sanders, the coach and quarterback of Colorado football, respectively. Deion Sanders played for the Dallas Cowboys in the 1990s, and perhaps him meeting with Jones was just a friendly hello to the owner of his former team. However, this did not stop NFL fans from openly speculating about what exactly this group could have been talking about, especially since Shador Sanders could declare for the 2024 NFL Draft. Now, obviously, he has not declared for the draft. He will play this year at Colorado, and then he will be in the 2025 draft. It says, and Deion Sanders has been tabbed as a future NFL coach, even though he has said openly he is not. While the Cowboys obviously have an excellent quarterback in Dak Prescott and a solid coach in Mike McCarthy, Jones is one of the most genuinely unpredictable owners in the NFL. You never know when the guy could be thinking, and this meeting had some folks wondering if Jerry World would welcome back Sanders sometimes in the future in a more official capacity. Said it's kind of a long shot, but it's worth speculating, as there's several pictures of Deion and Shador and Jerry, and a lot of people posting future Cowboys. Now, here's what would blow everybody's mind. Dallas didn't make a whole lot of moves, like two, in free agency. Is this the contract year for CeeDee Lamb, or is it next year? I think it's next year. But here's where I'm going with this. What if Dallas regresses back to 7-9, 9-7? When is it? You got it there?
Yeah, this is it. So this is his fifth-year option they picked up.
So they picked it up. So they got some negotiating to do with him too. Or he could be on the way out this year, or would it be next year?
Yeah, this says Lamb is due for a contract extension, due to make $17.9 million on the fifth-year option in 2024.
Okay. But you could see a situation where Dak is out, and maybe they make a coaching change. if there's one team I think that Deion Sanders would have an inside trek to be a head coach in the National Football League, it's Dallas. Everybody always talk about Florida State because of the connection there. And a lot of people laugh. Don't laugh. Did you ever think Deion would be a Power 5 coach? He's just a high school coach in Texas. Oh, he was going to Jackson. Why is he going to Jackson? Now he's at Colorado. I mean, I'm not saying that he is the next, Mike Shanahan or Kyle Shanahan, but if there's one team that would give him that shot, it's that gray-headed, senile old man out in Dallas. Isn't it? So if they track back to 7-9, you could see a scenario where Jerry makes a move. And look, he's high. Some of the hires he's made. Let me ask you this. Do you think Deion Sanders could do just as good a job as Jason Garrett? You don't, you don't think he could do as good enough job as Jason Garrett? His smile's not as weird as Jason Garrett. So let me get back into this. There's a lot to get to. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell on the new kickoff. And I hope I don't know if you guys have seen this. I put it out on X. I retweeted it. Quote, I think we're still going to have to tinker with it, but I think it's a big improvement and bring the play back to brings it back to being relevant. I think we can do it so the injury rate will drop. Did you see the way this thing's it's actually, this is the XFL kickoff in it. Isn't that interesting? Because I remember when this happened, a lot of people referenced that. And if you didn't see it, it's out there. Ian Rappaport, I retweeted this, kind of gave you a schematic of what this is like. So you've got the hybrid kickoff and what kind of the starting point and the setup zone. And then you've got how the players are going to line up. And I don't believe they can move until the ball is caught. Is that right? So the ball has to be caught by a returner, and then off we go. And it definitely takes a lot of the collision out. There's no doubt about it. I mean, instead of lining up and running 40 yards in a collision, I mean, you're really, because you have to start at the 40. So if you're on the kickoff team, you're starting at the 40 when you take a sprint and a first step. So really you only have about 20 yards to go. I criticize a lot of the NFL changes. I actually can get behind this one.
I can too. And here's why. Because a lot of people, the first thought is, you don't want to. I get it. A lot of stuff you don't want to change. A lot of stuff they change I don't like. But I can get behind this because I saw a stat today. It's allegedly supposed to, quote unquote, bring back the kick return.
Right.
It's kind of lost its shine. There's we're not seeing Devin Hester out there anymore.
Yep.
But I saw a stat. Now, this was in college. But, college is now looking at this too, by the way.
Oh, are they? I did not know this.
They're looking at this since it's the new NFL model. But in college, and I think you can take this and put it in the NFL too. I just figured out earlier today. Saw this earlier today. Last year, 49.6% of kickoffs were touchbacks.
Right at 50%.
Yeah. Yeah, that's up from 43% just 5 years ago. And I noticed a lot of that there's probably a very high percentage. I didn't see the exact number, but you can take that to the NFL too. And now they're kind of intertwined because the NFL or college is looking at adopting the new NFL model, which was the XFL model. So I don't know. We're seeing these leagues kind of intertwined on these rules.
601-885-3776. We're brought to you by our friends at Ranco Transmission, 1460 Old Brandon Road in Flowood. You can call 601-939-9184. Back in a bit.
Okay, we're back.
I'm ready.
It's more the afternoon drive with Jake Wimberly, where he's
Live
and local on Jackson Sports Authority, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, and online at thezone1059.com.
We're brought to you by Kubota and Kubota Equipment, like the Kubota L Series compact tractor, number one selling compact tractor in the United States, Z Series more, and Sidekick utility vehicles. Learn more today by going to KubotaUSA.com. Also, we're brought to you by Malone Roofing Services. ECMalone.com is their website. 8337 Malone, commercial, residential roofing done right with Malone Roofing Services. As we move through the day here. All right, let's see here. Where else? Let's see. Stephen. What makes Deion a good college coach, which is recruiting does not transfer to the National Football League? You have to have, especially on a side of the ball, to where you are a known commodity. I think he would fail miserably in the NFL. I think that you're probably right. Like, I don't know that Deion has a special, like, there's a difference in Deion the player. Now, his specialty is what? Public relations. There's no doubt. The guy can make money. He's a marketer on top of marketers, and he knows it. I mean, you can laugh at him and clown on him. You know, he sits in those press conferences with his sunglasses on and his hat, his chains, and all that. People like it. People pay attention. Now, if Colorado doesn't start winning, like, for instance, if they're another 3-4 win team this year, people are going to kind of check out because, you know, when you lose, people just kind of whatever. But he is a marketer. I think the way Deion could make it as an NFL head coach, and I think Steven's right on this. You got to be. I mean, you look at Andy Reid. What is he known for? He's an offensive guy, right? And you can go down the checklist. I mean, you go to Detroit. Their head coach, defensive guy. So Deion would have to really have a staff that is just dialed in. I mean, really good coordinators. Really good people there. Not saying he doesn't know football, but I get what Steven's saying. And again, this is all speculation based on Dak Prescott and what we've seen from the National Football League today as far as reports coming out of Dallas that Jerry Jones, as of today, is not even looking past this year. So we're locked for this year, and this is it. So, but Jerry does this too, right? He does this with coaches. We've seen him do this. Like, people ask him, remember they used to do this with Jason Garrett every year. They ask him about Jason Garrett. Is Jason Garrett going to be here next year? He wouldn't talk about it. And then Jason Garrett was there next year. But you have the opinion that he really likes Dak, and then Dak will be back.
Yeah, because he falls in love with these players. Jason Garrett, former player, kept him on coaching way too long. I think, he'll do this. I still think this Sanders stuff, your brain creating this one. Wimberly. This is, you know what, though? The crazy thing is it's Dallas. And to go back to Steven is 100% correct. But the whole conversation has been Jerry Jones makes some of the oddest decisions we've seen in the last 30 years of them losing.
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, this is not that far out of, I mean, think about this. This man, his arrogance, and I'm talking about Jerry Jones, his ego broke ties with what was an unbelievable run with Jimmy Johnson and settled with Barry Switzer. Okay, an owner and a coach, if that were the case. Now I'm entertaining this Deion Sanders as a head coach nonsense. But here's another part of it, though. Could that work in the sense that now you have an owner and a head coach who do nothing but talk? They love talking. They both love talk. Does Jerry Jones want to concede a lot of his talk to Deion Sanders? I think there's enough talking to go around because Jerry gets on his radio show, or it's not his, but it might as well be his, that he's always on. Deion's going to have his platform. He's going to be on Instagram and social media and TikTok and all that stuff. And Deion is the right kind of guy to where Jerry would let him have control, but Jerry could still be in control. Does that make sense? Deion, I helped bring you through this league, son. Like, there would be some head games going on here and some ties. Like, Jerry would really have his teeth in the last breaths of his life. Not that they're not already, but really into the decision-making of what's going on the field. It could be a disaster. Just something to think about. Boomer Sooner. Jerry Jones keeps coaches around that will not tell him no. The last coach to tell him no was Jimmy Johnson. That is true. But I don't know that Deion would tell him no. I mean, I feel like I'm talking to you like I know their relationship. I don't. I know that based on what we see and what we've heard over the years and what we've read, they have a really good rapport. Just food for thought. NFL EVP for media distribution, Hans Schrader, announced there will be a Christmas Day doubleheader this year in the National Football League. Remember, it's ongoing NFL spring meetings right now. NFL Christmas Day doubleheader, despite it being on a Wednesday. Quote, we've seen some really unprecedented growth. Amazon will have a wild card playoff game this year. Did you know this? They will. And the Eagles' season opener is in Brazil.
So they took the wild card game that was on Peacock. Remember when they streamed that? So are they getting it in place of Peacock?
Rappaport doesn't say. This is just some notes he's chalking through here that he's getting from the meeting. So I'll have to dig a little on that and see.
That would be a meltdown. You remember how many people feigned
absolutely,
anger over that Peacock?
That was the Dolphins-Chiefs game.
Dolphins-Chiefs game. And I'm so angry. There's no way I'm going to get this bull. Then you bought it. But if you have 2 streaming places you'd have to pay for, a little much.
Yeah, we'll have to see. We're brought to you by Bailey Lumber, and that's a good thing. We need to look at that. Bailey Lumber, of course, you can go to BaileyLumber.com, open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Special selections vary by store, limited to stock on hand. You got a C-store for complete details. You can find them at 2150 Mississippi Highway 471 in Brandon. Legacy cabinets, GAF roofing specials, Trex decking specials, everything you need from supplies, windows, lumber, hardware, all of it right there. BaileyLumber.com. Hour 2 up next.
The number you have reached.
WRKS Pickens Jackson. From college football to the NFL to high school football. 365 days a year. Hear it all on Jackson Sports Authority. Live and local at 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com. Now let's get back to the afternoon drive with Jake Wimberly.
Hour 2 on a Tuesday, brought to you by Mississippi Legends Grill. Get out and see George and the team. Trivia tonight. Not Your Grandmother's Bingo tomorrow night. Kids Eat Free on Thursday. Catfish Friday. Fried Chicken Friday on Friday. And, of course, you get the NCAA tournament games. And I want to say, reminder, I told Colonel Mustard. Colonel Mustard wins round 2. Dr. Taz 11 won round 1 in our Capital Ortho Mississippi Legends Grill Bracket Challenge. So make sure you ping us, and let's get you in touch with George so you can get your prizes. Of course, corner of Castlewoods Drive and Lakeland Drive. Everyone knows your name. Get the lunch special on Facebook.com/Mississippi Legends Grill. Kelley Ford, 4:30 to 5. We'll talk NCAA tournament, some college football. David Johnson on all things Ole Miss at 5:15. We've been talking about Dak Prescott. Reports today, Ian Rappaport, Jerry Jones, not looking past this year. It's going to open up, at least theoretically, Dak Prescott on the free agent market to test those waters. And I've been talking about a theory here that I have that, hey, call it crazy. Deion said earlier this week, late last week, they're going to Eli Manning this thing. They're going to go where they want to go. I don't think Deion's going to be in Colorado after this year, and I think he's going to be in the NFL, and I think you see where I'm going here. Let's go to DJ. DJ, welcome in.
Hey, Jake, this is just my interpretation, but, most of us have that issue that we like to trigger our best friend, our brother. You know what I'm talking about?
Sure.
I think Deion is your trigger issue would be. Am I right?
No. I mean, Beaver's still shaking, saying over here screaming yes. Not at all.
I don't doubt that you got report the news, but I think this is a trigger because you're going to trigger B. But now, I kind of lean on B's side on this one, but you do realize Deion didn't play most of his career at Dallas, right?
I do. Correct.
And he only caught the tail end of the dynasty. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he won it in San Francisco in '94, then flipped and won it in Dallas in '95. Is that correct?
Yeah, Beaver says that's right.
Yeah. And then, of course, I don't know what year he retired, but I know he played another 3 or 4 years with the Cowboys. It is interesting, now in college football, it's just like Ryan Day. He got pushed out of the offensive role because in college, they don't want head coaches coordinating. But in the NFL, it's a different deal because you got a general manager, in college football. Can you imagine being a head coach in college football right now?
No. And as much as I love the sport, love it. I mean, love it. Can never get enough of it, but I wouldn't want to be a coach in it.
Well, this is completely subjective, but I believe being the head coach in college football is the hardest coaching role in sports, period. I don't think there's anything even close to being that difficult. Because, in the pros, you got a general manager, but like I said, do you think Shador will be the number one guy?
I think he's got a shot for sure. I mean, if you look at some of the now these are way too early projections. These things can change. I mean, we saw Spencer Rattler in the same position, 3-4 years ago at Oklahoma.
Right.
And that whole thing dovetailed on him, and he was out things can change, but as of today, the projections are saying, hey, yeah, he's definitely top 5 pick, could be number 1 pick.
Well, Deion, went out. He has shored the offensive line up, and Shador's talented. There's no question about it. And I think they're going to be playing. My opinion, I think they're going to be playing a much easier league this year because the Pac-12 last year was probably, wouldn't you say, the best Pac-12's been since maybe the early '80s? For
sure.
I mean, early 2000s, not early '80s.
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, the Pac-12 was really, really good.
But anyway, Jake, love your show. And like I said, anytime you bring up Deion, I just imagine me and my brother, we're 11 months apart. We both had issues. We could trigger the other one. And that's just my perception. I could be wrong. But, you and B remind me of brothers more than you do coworkers. And that's a testament to how well y'all work together. Anyway, thanks, Jake.
Thanks, TJ. Sometimes I do like to rib B with that, but not like this is today. This is there are real stories. Even though you may not think it's a real story, you have to start asking questions, especially when you start trying to figure out a senile old man like Jerry Jones. Because I don't even know that. I mean, I would guess that maybe his family can figure him out, but even sometimes with parents, right? There's things with my dad, I have no idea what he's thinking. And I've been around my dad for 47 years. So do you feel that way? Sometimes you just even though it's your parents, so all that saying, Jerry Jones' kids may not even really understand him. They may talk about it privately and go, what is Dad doing? What is he doing? All right, let's see here. How have the initial number 1 ranked quarterbacks in 247 Sports College Football recruiting ranks panned out over the years? We're going to get into this. A really good kind of look back by Chris Hummer, who takes a look back at the past 10 years, headlined by Josh Rosen. Remember that name? 2015. We'll go back to Josh Rosen, looking forward. Number 1 ranked quarterbacks in college. So, obviously every year, Trevor Lawrence was a number 1 ranked quarterback. You can go down the line here. Bryce Young was, and we'll get into that. Also, Brad Crawford's season-defining games for every SEC football team. We'll see if these games are actually defining. New Mexico basketball. New Mexico coach Richard Pitino has emerged as the top candidate for Louisville. George, where you at? How about that? Richard Pitino. Looks a lot like his dad. Also, ranking college football's 10 most intriguing neutral site ball games for 2024. We'll get into some of that. South Carolina's lead scorer, Michi Johnson, has entered the transfer portal, 6'2" guard, averaged 14.1 points per ball game, 4.1 rebounds, 2.9 assists this season. He is in the portal. And March Madness Sweet 16 power rankings, courtesy of On3, just ranking the teams that are left. UConn number 1. If you went back and took all of them and let's just re-rank them. UConn number 1 going into the weekend, courtesy of On3. Purdue 2, North Carolina 3, Houston 4, Creighton 5, Arizona 6, Marquette 7, Duke 8, Gonzaga. How about Gonzaga in the Sweet 16? We sat right here and just didn't give them any kind of nope. Here they are.
Oh no! Now they will. This is their 9th straight Sweet 16. Well, they are good for a Sweet 16, Elite 8. But I still don't ever pick them to win the whole thing. Now watch, they're probably going to win the whole thing now. But 9 straight.
That's wild. That's a heck of a stat.
Crazy.
I mean, it really is. You think about 9 straight years, 1 year shy of a decade, Gonzaga has been to the Sweet 16 every single year. And look, just a few weeks ago, a lot of people were saying they may not even make the tournament. Our good friend Esparza said that like about a month ago because they were in jeopardy of missing the tournament. Tennessee ranks 10th, Illinois 11th, Alabama 12th, Iowa State 13, NC State 14, Clemson 15, San Diego State at 16. Speaking of Colorado, more Colorado news, as if you need it. Colorado has consolidated its name, image, and likeness NIL market with the launch of the 5430 Alliance. Pete Nakos reports the collective believes it needs a budget of about $8 million to put Colorado on a path to compete with the big boys around the country. And the NFL kickoff model has passed. If you missed that, there's a great infograph on the new kickoff, the hybrid kickoff model, as they're calling it. So where they'll have a kickoff start line. And you said they're looking at this in college, or are they about to pass it?
Yeah, Kirby Smart was talking about it. He said they're looking at it.
Again, there's a lot of changes in football over the years that I don't like. I can actually get behind this one. I really, especially if it's going to make the kickoff. Now, let me ask you this. The landing zone, does the kicker have to kick it in the landing zone, or can they still kick it out of the back of the end zone?
I mean, if you have a good enough leg, I'm sure.
Because they moved it. Well, let's see. No, it's set at the ball set at the 35, which I believe is the traditional tee-up point of the football. And then you have a landing zone. That's where your return men would be. You could put 2-3 guys back there if you wanted to, whatever. And then you'd have the kickoff team that would set up across the 40-yard line. But that's the opponent's 40-yard line. And the return team, they set their line at the 30. So you've got 10 yards separation between kick and return guys, where traditionally, you had, 20 yards, and then a lot moving back that way. We got some on the phones?
Well, we allegedly. Oh, yeah, we're going to have something. That's Space Ghost. First of all, he T-Mobiled me. So he's calling back with some gold, so prepare yourself.
Can't wait for this. 601-885-3776. Yeah, check out the hybrid model if you haven't. Saints are preparing for a real possibility that offensive tackle Ryan Ramczyk is medically not able to play this season. Sources say Coach Dennis Allen alluded to Ramczyk's knee not responding as they hoped, and it's unclear when or if it will, a true question mark. So that is not good news for the New Orleans Saints. Let's go to Space Ghost. Space Ghost, happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday to you, gentlemen. Just wanted to say the zone where they have to put it in, they have to put it there, or it's a return to the 40-yard line for them to start over, or the other team gets the ball. It's a penalty to kick it out of the end zone. It's either 20, it comes up to the 20 or it comes up to the 40. I can't remember. But it's a penalty if you kick it out of the end zone.
So your
kicker's got to be pretty accurate. Drop it at the 5.
Right. You got to kick it into the quote landing zone.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that insight.
Yes, sir. Have a good day.
You too. Thanks. We're brought to you by Premier Plastic Surgery and Dr. Erica Bass. You can call 601-981-2525 to get a consultation, schedule an appointment today. Mississippi Premier Plastic Surgery. Dr. Bass performs the awake liposuction procedure in the clinic with a local anesthetic, and there's little to no downtime after the procedure. Guys, get that consult today if you need it. 601-981-2525. Back in a bit.
This is the home of the Chuck Oliver Show every weekday from 10 till noon on Mississippi's live and local sports authority. And where? We're back to Jake Quiverly with the afternoon drive on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Brought to you by Williams Newman Williams. Car wreck, truck accident, nursing home neglect. Online, WNWlegal.com. That's WNWlegal.com. Our good friends at Williams Newman Williams when you need a win. We'll have Kelley Ford. Speaking of wins, K Ford ratings. Next segment, we'll go 4:30 to 5 o'clock. Also, David Johnson on Ole Miss Sports coming up at 5:15. Let me get caught up over here on the Cowboy Maloney's text line, 601-885-3776. St. Louis Vic. Deion had a few interceptions with Baltimore. LOL. Let's see. Buffalo Chris sends us a ticket from Ameristar Casino. He has Gonzaga. See, this is a fantastic bet, Chris, and I'm not just saying this. Chris bet a future before the tournament for Gonzaga to win the whole thing. He said, hey, why not? $5. $5 plus 8,500. 85 to 1 odds. Pays him $430. Beaver, that's a heck of an investment, right? That is a heck of an investment. So, Chris, happy gaming, sir. That is a great one. Look, since my Kentucky Wildcat ticket died in its infancy, never again. I mean, it's just Kentucky, that whole deal. It still haven't heard anything else on really what's going to happen there. All right, let me get into, let's see, the NFL trade deadline. A lot of NFL today. The NFL trade deadline has been moved to Tuesday after Week 9 games. There is a list of all proposed rules that have been approved. I'm just looking through here. Is there anything else that comes to mind? A lot of this is on replay and competition committee rule number 8 to eliminate a potentially dangerous tackling technique. We talked about that yesterday. Oh, let's see. Is there anything else in here? By competition committee rule number 7, article 17, section 17.3, to expand the standard evaluation rules, to permit clubs to evaluate a bona fide quarterback an unlimited number of times from its practice squad to its active list to be its emergency third-string quarterback. So now you can, remember they talked about adding that third quarterback? So you can bring them back and forth, practice squad to third-team guy, practice squad to third-team guy, which actually isn't a bad deal, especially, if you're a quarterback trying to make it in the league. Now, instead of having 2 deep, you technically have, wink, wink, a 3 deep. So your guys like Sam Bradford will never leave the NFL, right? Guys like that, they'll just never leave it. Also, Robert Kraft, on the Patriots, quote, poor NFLPA report cards, I must tell you, I was unaware of how bad it was. The NFLPA survey continues to lead to improved conditions and changes. So the NFLPA, they do a report card on each team, and the Patriots graded poorly. He said the team is making changes and announced a plan for a new $50 million workout facility. Kraft, I'd be very surprised if that didn't improve. So the Patriots... And look, I think the product on the field for the New England Patriots over the last several years, since Tom Brady went south to Tampa Bay and that whole deal kind of unraveled between him and Belichick, this whole thing, I mean, the Patriots on the field echo kind of what the NFLPA are reporting off the field. It's a degrading franchise. It is an absolute degrading franchise. So Robert Kraft knows he's got work to do. Let's see here, JC. Jake, you seem like the kind of guy that drives a Prius. Now, what would give JC the idea that I would drive a Prius? Not that there's anything wrong with it. What do you think?
I'm confused. Yeah, I'm a little confused why he jumped straight to that today. Why a Prius?
I've got to look at these things. I have a Toyota Prius. I'm sure it's a great car. Motor Trend Car of the Year. No, CJC, no. Why? Now, why would he? JC, I drive a Jeep. I have no interest in a Prius, especially a hybrid Prius. I don't see that. Hey, March Madness TV ratings tell the story. The tournament is perfect as it is. At least is what Dan Wetzel is reporting. Entering the 2024 NCAA tournament, hearing that the men's game had no name stars and a few blue bloods among the legitimate national title favorites. The powers that be in college athletics, commissioners and athletic directors, attached to Major Football were discussing expanding the tournament. And by the way, this tournament's going to expand. I mean, it is going to expand because there's more money involved in the expansion, at least when they're busy raiding each other's leagues, filing lawsuits, or lobbying Congress for antitrust carve-outs. As run-ups go, it was less than ideal. Pretty much everything was negative. But when you get to the first ratings that are out, the ratings were actually really good over the weekend. Now, some are saying, hey, this is why we don't need to change this. The most watched Thursday game, 8.5 million average since 2015. The most watched Friday, 8.3 million ever. That was on the whole day. The most watched Saturday, 10.3 million ever. Make the first 3 days 9.0 million, the most on average, the most watched ever. Broadcasters have a way of twisting numbers into not just good news, but, quote, best ever, most ever news. So who truly knows? Regardless of whether records were truly being set, here in an era of fractured viewership and rare shared experiences, it is abundantly clear that the NCAA tournament is not just healthy, but thrives against industry trends. Sports Business Journal, meanwhile, reported that the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament sold at least 97% of its tickets. What's left in the brackets is a top-heavy Sweet 16 that should produce a battle royal of sorts the next 2 weekends. For just the 5th time ever, every 1-2 seed is still alive. And, it was interesting because, when I was over there with Keith last week, he said, I've gone through this thing, and it just see chalk, a lot of chalk. He said, I didn't expect it to be that, and that's what you're seeing. You're seeing, top teams win, not a ton of upsets. He said, if you think CBS was gushed about ratings last week, wait till you see what's coming. Seemingly nothing can kill this, quote, cocktail, whose chief ingredients are inclusion, small schools from non-traditional leagues, and exclusivity. It's not simple for anyone to qualify, which means despite outsized budgetary disparity, things get settled on a level playing field or court. It's the right size, the right mix, the right blend year in and year out. Again, I don't see how expansion is going to hurt this. Do you think expanding the tournament is going to hurt the tournament? Especially not the way that they're talking about doing it. Bill, that's crazy. I was just about to text in and say, I have you pegged for a Jeep or Bronco kind of guy. Jake, I was right on the money. Bill, you were, sir. Now, Toddy sends an audio clip, but I don't know that we can play an audio clip off the text line. Any idea what this is? Is this something about Space Ghost probably?
Probably. No, we can, as in we have the ability, but I'm certainly not going to play a random audio clip blindly on the air. So when we go to break, though, I'm kind of intrigued what this is.
Yeah, because we don't want Toddy to cattleman himself on this show. Hey, we're brought to you by Janney King. Go to JanneyKingCleans.com for more information. Schools, buildings, churches, church offices, and, of course, any venue, medical facilities. Keep your facility, your place of worship clean, and keep it comfortable. Go to JanneyKingCleans.com. We got to take a time out. We'll come back. Kelley Ford on your radio.
And action!
We got that and a whole lot more around here. It's the Afternoon Drive with Jake Wimberly.
What's the score?
He's got that, along with the hottest sports stories of the day on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
We're brought to you by Ashley Howie, Cry Like Realtors, 769-226-3782, Facebook.com/Ashley Howie Realtor. If you're looking to buy, sell, or relocate, we're also brought to you by Maristar Casino, 4 great restaurants on the property, also the Bottleneck Blues Bar on the weekends. Text us on the Cowboy Maloney's text line, 601-885-3776. Make your house a home today with Cowboy Maloney's. Kelley Ford, K Ford Ratings on your radio on a Tuesday. Kelley, welcome in, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Jake. How are you today?
We're good. We're just chalking through these numbers. A lot of NFL in hour one. I want to get to some college basketball with you, maybe a college football question by the end of the show, end of your 2 segments here. I appreciate you as always. Let me ask you this. I was going through a piece on college basketball, and it was it's basically, you may have read it, from Dan Wetzel, Yahoo Sports, talking about, March Madness TV ratings tell the story. The tournament is perfect as it is. A lot of the back and forth, as you well know, national story on expansion and this, that, and other with the tournament. I fully expect this thing to expand just because of monetary value on the television contracts. But is it perfect in your mind? Does it need expansion, and is it warranted?
I agree with you, Jake, that I believe it will expand as well because more games means more money. And as we've seen in college football and really any business venture, which that's what this is, more revenue is good for those that run it. So I do think it will expand. I wouldn't say it's perfect right now, Jake. Dayton does a good job hosting the first four, but ideally, if we're going to change the number, I think going back to 64, and I know we've had 65 for even years before we were at 68, I think 64 is just a nice, clean bracket. Everybody loves that Thursday and Friday. Didn't have nearly as many upsets this year as we've seen in years past. When you look at the Sweet 16, you've only got 3 teams that are somewhat unexpected. If you want to say NC State, Clemson, and then maybe San Diego State. I think a lot of people probably had Gonzaga beating Kansas, even though they are a 5 seed. So I think it is certainly better now than it would be if it were to expand. I love the upsets, and I love the storylines and all that. I don't think expansion is going to get the types of teams in the tournament that are going to be able to provide that. If you expand this thing, you're looking at letting in some of these Big East bubble teams that missed it, St. John's, Providence, some of these ACC schools that missed it, Pittsburgh. Like, these aren't Cinderella teams. These are teams that finished 500 or worse in their conferences, the big conferences, and those are the teams that you're going to be putting in here. What does that do then to the format of the first round? Do you move automatic qualifiers from lower conferences, mid-majors, such as Oakland, out of the Horizon League, who upsets Kentucky? Do they now have to play their way into the round of 64? If so, that makes it harder for them to advance and to have that upset moment. You could say the signature upsets so far of this tournament are Oakland over Kentucky and probably Yale over Auburn. Those two teams, do they have to now play their way into the round of 64 if we expand? I would hate to see that. I certainly do not want to see expansion, but like you, would not be surprised at all if it happens.
Kelley Ford on your radio. Make sure to find him at K Ford Ratings on X, also KFordRatings.com, Tuesday edition of the program. So let me ask you this. There's no way to, a lot of times we see this in bowl games. Now, bowl games are a little different than the NCAA tournament. The SEC or the ACC or the Big 12 or formerly now the Pac-12 would go, say, 2-5 in bowl season and say, oh, see, the conference is overrated. And you kind of just shake your, well, it's bowl season. SEC, outside of Tennessee and Alabama, did not perform well at all. Are we at a point to say that the league was overrated or the matchups were bad, or how do you kind of quantify the poor performance of the Southeastern Conference in the first 2 rounds?
Yeah, it's a fair question, Jake, and I even had some fun with it based on Sankey's comments about, I think we need more spots for high-power teams, and we're losing valuable spots to these smaller conference AQs. So I definitely took a little jab at what the SEC's record was at one point just in response to that. But, if you take that aside and in all seriousness evaluate it objectively, it's such a small sample size, and March Madness is just that. In most years, this year we didn't quite get it, it's madness, and it's all about the matchups. What makes this tournament great is it's not a best 4 out of 7. It's not a best 2 out of 3. It is one game, and whoever's better on that day, whoever gets the bounces on that day, is going to have the opportunity to advance. So, no, I don't think that the SEC was overrated. I think the SEC is one of the best men's basketball conferences in the entire country. You've got blue blood brands in there. You've got really high-profile coaches. You've got really, really good players. I don't think the SEC is overrated. I think maybe they had some bad matchups. I think maybe they had some bad performances on the day of the game, and that's what makes this tournament special. But I certainly wouldn't say that the SEC is overrated as a conference, or even, Jake, that those teams were not deserving of the seeds that they got. I'm not even going to say they were overseeded or overranked going in. I think they were where they needed to be. Bad matchup, bad performance on the day of. The SEC is still one of the premier men's basketball conferences in the entire country.
All right, let's get into some of your numbers here. If you go to KFordRatings.com, you've got the updated March Madness projections. You say Houston's still my number 1 power-rated team, but UConn now has the greatest chance to win the field, to win the title. 21% chance to win the whole thing, rated 22.6. What, obviously numbers and such of that nature, and UConn wasn't that far behind, but a little bit of teetering at the top, especially when you see a drop of North Carolina all the way down to 18.1.
Yeah, so just like it was coming into the tournament, Jake, and again, we don't always say this after the first week of play, but the top 4 teams by my power ratings and by the chance to make the Final Four and win the national championship are still the same 4 teams, maybe in a slightly different order for chances to win, as you mentioned, and they're all coming from different regions here. I mean, UConn is still the favorite in the East, as they have been for me since the start, and really for everybody. Houston, the favorite out of the Midwest. Purdue, the favorite out of the South. And Arizona, even though they are the 2 seed, my power ratings and some others out there as well did have them as the best team by power rating standpoint in the West region, even over the number 1 seed North Carolina, and with the best chance to make it to Phoenix. And I do think that playing in the West region, I believe is it in Los Angeles this year, I want to say, is where that is. Like Arizona, North Carolina has a great fan base. It's a national fan base, and they're going to travel. But if it's Arizona and North Carolina in the Elite Eight, and it's in the West region out there in Los Angeles, I fully expect Arizona to have just as many, if not more, fans in North Carolina in a game of those 2 high-profile programs and teams. That could make the difference. It's also Caleb Love, right? Used to play at North Carolina, now he's at Arizona. All sorts of storylines. But to me, there's a top tier of teams, those 4. And then after that, you're looking at, Tennessee, Iowa State, Duke, North Carolina. Those are probably the next teams that I'd say, one from each of those regions. And don't count out Alabama. I have them in my bracket getting to the Elite Eight. We will see if they're able to. I've got it with a 46% chance to beat North Carolina. I'm certainly going to have my eyes on that game here coming up later this week.
Let me ask you this before we go to break, and we'll hit some of these others. Gonzaga down there, closer to the end of this list you've got. 16.9 is the rating, 2% chance to win the whole thing. Are you surprised? There was some chatter back, a month ago that the Zags may not even make the tournament. Are you surprised now that they made their 9th straight Sweet 16 appearance?
Well, it's just a phenomenal achievement that Mark Few and that program have been able to do. I mean, to sustain excellence, and we just got done talking about how crazy March Madness is. It's one game, one off, one bad performance, and you're done. To make it to the Sweet 16 9 consecutive years is absolutely phenomenal. 2 Final Fours in there, a national championship game. I mean, it's really, really impressive. I am not surprised, though, Jake. I did have them advancing to this round in my bracket. Now they have to go up against the number 1 seed, Purdue. I did have Purdue winning that one, but I wouldn't be surprised if Gonzaga knocks off Purdue. I got a 32% chance of that happening. But, Jake, I recall about a month ago, you and I talking on this show, you said, hey, Kelley, who are some teams, that maybe come from a worse seed that can make a run deep in the tournament? And at that time, we were talking about Gonzaga potentially being on the fringe of making the tournament. And I said, if they do get in, they're going to be a really hard out because they've been a top 15 team for me from a power rating standpoint. Now, of course, they improved down the stretch and strung together a bunch of wins. They ended up climbing all the way up to that 5 seed line. But for a while, they were right there on the bubble. Are they going to be a 10? Are they going to be an 11? Are they going to be left out? Which seems unthinkable now when you see how they're playing. But this is a program that when in doubt, you give them the benefit because they proved it 9 years, as you said, in a row in the Sweet 16. I'm very curious to see. Purdue got that monkey off their back, right? They beat the 16. They beat Utah State, and they absolutely just ran Utah State out of the building. I was actually at that game here in Indianapolis. And Purdue, they have the monkey off their back from last year. Will they be relaxed? Will they be ready to go? I fully expect they will be, but Gonzaga, that's a really good team. The winner of that game is going to have a good chance to make it to Phoenix.
We're brought to you by Ameristar Casino. Make sure to get the Bet Builder online, AmeristarCasinoVicksburg.com. And, of course, go over to the End Zone. Grab the Bet Builder today. Kelley Ford on your radio. One more segment when we come back. Got to take a timeout. Back in a bit.
Turning to sports with Jake Wimberly on the afternoon drive.
One of the last pure pleasures I have left in my life.
Yeah, maybe you ought to get a life first, okay? On ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at TheZone1059.com.
We're brought to you by Went McGee. He is the mortgage man. Call or text today, 601-906-7074. Online at mortgagemanms.com for all your mortgage options. Kelley Ford, segment 2, K Ford Ratings on X, also kfordratings.com. Hey, Kelley, let me ask you about a couple of these teams that's kind of stuck in the middle here. Marquette being one, 3% chance to win the whole thing based on your numbers, 9% chance to make the national championship game, and then Illinois. And I've noticed some people, you look at brackets and stuff around the country and picked Illinois. You look at Marquette, Illinois, Alabama, maybe even Creighton. Any of those teams that you like more than others that we could look up at the end of the weekend and they're in the Final Four?
Yeah, Jake, I think Illinois is probably the best team out of that group that you just mentioned. Now, it's tough because they got UConn in their bracket, and they'd have to go through them in the Elite Eight round there to make it to the Final Four. I think Illinois is the best team. I think Alabama, and I've talked about this with you before, Jake, their upside, I think, is incredible. Perhaps the Alabama upside better than any of these other teams' upside, but they can lay an absolute stinker on any given night, and we've seen that as well. I don't think Marquette, they've got the best chance out of this group to win their Sweet 16 game because they're playing NC State. And NC State is clearly, by my numbers, the worst team from a power rating standpoint remaining in this tournament. Yes, I know they won the ACC championship, but they are the worst team from a power rating standpoint. So you have to like their odds to make it to the Elite Eight. But Marquette is probably the worst team out of that group you just mentioned in terms of their own raw power rating. And the winner of that game, Marquette NC State, has to go up against Houston, who I still have power rated number one. I know it got close there in their round of 32 game, but they did pull it out even with the foul trouble. So I think Alabama's got the high upside. Illinois is probably the best out of the group. Marquette probably has the best chance out of any of them to make it to the Elite Eight.
NC State at the very bottom. Now, I know mathematically that's why they're there, but you look at this team that made a run in the ACC tournament, and everybody said, wow, they got in, by the hair of their chinny chin chin, shall we say. They got in and won the whole thing. They're not going to do anything. I said that. I was, well, there's a layoff, that week or almost a week time. Here they are. Now they have won another 2 ball games. Would you be shocked to see them win another ball game or 2 in this?
I wouldn't be shocked at this point. I was genuinely surprised that they were able to play the way they did against Texas Tech. And then, of course, Oakland pulls the upset against Kentucky, so that's your second-round matchup, actually making NC State the favorite in that game by my numbers. So I wouldn't be surprised because they've proven they can do it. As I just got done saying, they're playing Marquette, who, if you look at my power rating, that's by far the worst team on the 1 or 2 seed line from a power rating standpoint. But they're certainly going to be an underdog. And, my numbers give them about a 1 in 4 chance to get it done. And then if you do win that one, you got to go up against either Houston or Duke. And either one of those teams I have power rated better than Marquette. So I don't expect to see NC State in Phoenix at the Final Four, but I didn't expect to see them here at this round either. So I wouldn't put it past them, but they are at the bottom of my power rating list and chances to win it all for those reasons.
Let's finish it up with Tennessee. That's the one SEC team. Against Texas, Texas scared the daylights out of them, but they were able to survive. You've got them with a 6% chance to win the whole thing, a 27% chance to make the Final Four, 13% chance to make the national title game. That is good enough for 5th on your list. Do you like the matchups moving forward for Tennessee? Do you like their path to still be alive come Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, I think Tennessee, they've got it all in front of them. And this is a really good team. They've been power rated in my top, 7 or 8 all year. They're currently the 5th best power rated team still in this tournament by my numbers. The only team in their region I have above them is Purdue. And so if you're looking at it, Purdue is a team that has struggled in March the last few years. I know I just got done saying the last segment they got that monkey off their back, and I believe that. That's going to be up in Detroit, so I do expect the Purdue fans to travel. It's not too far from West Lafayette or from Indiana up to Detroit there. But Tennessee, they're an experienced team. They've got really good players. Rick Barnes, it's kind of hard to believe that he's only been to 1 Final Four. And I say only like that's not good. It's a really hard thing to do. It's a great accomplishment to just make it. But he's been such a high-level coach for so many years, both at Texas and at Tennessee now. I'm surprised that he hasn't been there more because that's the respect I have for him. I do think that Tennessee has a decent chance to make it to the Final Four, 27% by my numbers right now. And Tennessee fans have to like the draw they have. I would even argue, even though Purdue's higher power rated than North Carolina, just given Purdue struggles in March, if I'm not a 1 seed, I probably want to be in the bracket that has Purdue as the 1 seed just because of those struggles that they've had each of the last 3 years in the tournament.
Make sure to find him on X at KFord Ratings, also KFordRatings.com. Kelley, I appreciate your time as always. We'll chalk up the Final Four next week. We'll get back into a little college football and more. I really appreciate you as always.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, Jake, and we'll enjoy the games here this weekend.
Thanks so much. Kelley Ford on your radio. Make sure to give him a follow on X. A lot of good stuff there, talking March Madness. We'll have David Johnson in at 5:15. We'll talk Ole Miss. Are you going to watch any of these games this weekend?
Yeah.
Are you
I'm
really?
going to watch that. It's a good weekend. It was a decent weekend because, as I was telling Kelly, I've gotten to a point where I'm looking forward to the UFL. That kicks off Saturday. So that coupled with these games, yeah, I'll check in. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm going to watch full games. No, because I never do that. But, yeah, I'm going to watch some.
Hour 3, I want to get into this recruit-centric prep Super League that is on track to debut next month. And we'll get into that. Let's see, Joe in Possum Neck. Possum Neck Joe. Texas 601-885-3776 says, wow, Bill, what a genius. Jake has only talked about his Jeep on this show a gazillion times. Be sure to tell us how many wins Mississippi State football will have this fall at Christmas. Wow, Joe just went straight at Bill off the top rope. You never know about Joe.
Hey, wait a minute, Joe. That's my fellow Longhorn you're talking about.
He
Bill.
just right off the rope. Right, hammer fist. All right, let's see. Other stuff we'll get into. We were talking about these March Madness TV ratings. We'll get into Colorado reshuffling their name, image, and likeness, their collective, and also we'll get an update on the transfer portal as it pertains to basketball because this thing is super, super hot. Super hot. 2,337 guys have entered the football portal. There'll be more of that after spring practice. 1,325 unofficially, courtesy of On3, have repositioned themselves as 57% of the field. 108 guys, 4.62% have withdrawn. Back in a bit.
WRKS Pickens Jackson, where it's
Time
to take a ride. Yes, we're back with Jake Wimberly on the afternoon drive. It's live, it's local, and it's on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Hour 3 on a Tuesday. Stream it on thezone1059.com. Starts right now, courtesy of Capital Grill, 5050 I-55 North, Suite F. Enjoy your afternoon. Forget about your workday. Change it up a little bit with Capital Grill in Jackson. Grab a Michelob Ultra or Bud Light, courtesy of Southern Beverage. Please drink responsibly. 18 TVs to get the game of your choice. Handcrafted foods and beverage specials. Get a game of pool. Enjoy baseball, March Madness, and more at Capital Grill in Jackson. Make sure to find them on their website, capitalgrillofjackson.com. Also on Facebook.com/Capital Grill of Jackson to get the daily updates as well. Kelley Ford, 30 minutes with us just a few minutes ago. We'll get that up later on this week. David Johnson will join us in the next segment. We'll talk Ole Miss baseball and Ole Miss football. Let's see here. Jason in Flagstaff on the Cowboy Maloney's text line. Bieber's excitement level for the Dollar General of football says it all about what time of year it is, huh? Who's he calling the Dollar General?
The UFL.
Oh, well, I think amongst a lot of football, well, not everybody. I know what it is for you. For me, I'm pulling for these leagues. I want to see leagues make it. I'm selfish. I like football year round. And I'm like you. You may even watch this a little more than me. I'll dive in there and check out some of it. Speaking of football, recruit-centric Prep Super League still on track to debut in April with loose NIL restrictions. Brian Woods, founder of the Spring League and recent iteration of the USFL, announced the formation of an 11-on-11 high school football league with loose NIL rules last June. It's the same people. Plans are still in place. What's that? The same people? I think it is. Brian Woods, founder of the Spring League, and now what you're talking about with the USFL. Plans are still in place for the Prep Super League. They're calling it the PSL to debut next month, with the regular season opener scheduled for April 27th. Since Woods made the announcement, some plans have changed. He anticipates 400 players to participate across 12 teams with 3 divisions. His goal is to expand to 16 to 30 teams, however. That wouldn't mean 30 different markets. Since the launch announcement, there's been a resorting of locations, too. Plans were to be placed in Cleveland, but the state of Ohio has not altered its NIL policy. Instead, he sold the franchise to Denver. Nevada enacted language in August to allow NIL at the high school level, opening up for the Las Vegas market. Wood said the plans are for teams to be in Atlanta, Dallas, Denver, Houston, New Jersey, New Orleans, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Miami, San Diego, San Francisco, and Tampa. Quote, I've been very encouraged by the number of 4 or 5-star kids, he recently told On3. We're up to around 100 4 and 5 stars that have committed to play in it. And some of these kids are legitimate. They're some of the best kids in the country. Granted, we're not everywhere where these kids are. Arguably right now, the best recruits, 5-star quarterback Bryce Underwood up in Michigan. He goes on to say, we are in discussions with some of these out-of-market players, especially quarterbacks, about getting them involved, what we think would be an interesting spin. For instance, with Bryce Underwood, we'd love for him to be able to have him in the Prep Super League and then assign him to New Orleans because he's a commitment to LSU. Woods did not provide a full list of two on three, but shared 12 names that have publicly opted in to play. So, a lot of these guys you may not know. A lot of them I have no idea who they are because they're still high school guys and they're in other states. But we're looking at corners, 3 wide receivers, a running back, quarterback committed to Penn State, Bakeem Kretza, and let's see, a corner, offensive tackle, wide receiver, defensive lineman, wide receiver. The PSL first launched. Former FBS and NFL head coaches were the target to serve as head coaches. That is still the case in some of the 12 markets. However, Woods has opened the pool to experienced high school coaches. Set to follow coaches' rules, teams can hold 2 minimal contact, 90-minute practices a week, with a walkthrough and games scheduled on Saturdays. Quote, we have been engaging the top high school coaches in the markets because we want to be able to support traditional high school football, said Woods. There's some goodwill to build by bringing in established coaches, ones that have been in the market and have been doing a lot of good for the players for many of the years to come. We're going to be announcing all of our head coaches here in the next couple of weeks. NIL and collectives can play a role in the PSL, independent of state associations. The Prep Super League made clear from the jump it believes the platform can strengthen athletes' brand value. 8 of the 12 markets allow high schoolers to profit off name, image, and likeness and remain eligible. Florida and Texas still prohibit name, image, and likeness, but Woods believes there is still a way for athletes in those states to profit. Quote, if a player in a state like Florida wants to participate in NIL with the Prep Super League and make that a senior season and forgo remaining high school eligibility, then they very well could choose to do that. That is certainly a possibility that could be enticing options for them. Now, high school coaches will lose their minds over that. There's nothing they can do about it. Beaver is a high school 5-star athlete in the state of Florida that plays for local Florida high school. They got an opportunity to go win a state championship this year. But Beaver opts out of high school football to go play in the Prep Super League so he can get paid and not play with a high school anymore. Talk about a Debbie Downer for that community. So I just don't know how successful this thing can be. It seems like there is and streaming will serve as PSL distribution, by the way. In the past ventures with the Spring League and USFL, Woods found linear television options for the leagues. He's taking a different route with PSL, opting to launch with a direct-to-consumer app where fans can watch games in real time. The league has partnered with video streaming company 24i and real-time video streaming platform Phoenix. The app will provide a sub-second latency viewing experience, meaning the stream will be just 2 seconds behind, according to Woods. The typical TV delay is between 20 and 25 seconds. Because the conference's pre-existing TV deals, PSL will be one of the first leagues to tap into the 24I and Phoenix offer. You think this can even make it? It doesn't sound like it. I mean, it sounds good in theory. We're going to put all these high school teams, 12 of them, in 12 different markets. You got an opportunity to name, image, and likeness. Businesses and business owners and decision makers are probably getting fatigued with NIL anyway. Obviously, the universities have a lot more leverage because those owners are tied at the heartstrings with their universities, right? If you give to the collective at Mississippi State or Ole Miss or Southern or wherever, you have a connection. You think Joe Buck Taylor out here is going to give to just some local random high school kid, even though it's a 5-star that comes in from Ohio to play in Texas, or vice versa? I just don't see it. Unnamed texter, I hope this blows up. No high school NIL of any kind. Woods sucks. Another greedy idiot. There is definitely probably some personal gain in this for him. We're brought to you by our friends at Capital Orthopedic, online at capitalortho.com. Of course, same-day appointments can be made at Capital Orthopedic's website, capitalortho.com. Flowood, Madison, Clinton, Brookhaven, Hazelhurst, and Kosciuszko. Move better, be better, live better with Capital Orthopedic. You can always call 601-987-8200. We'll have David Johnson in. We'll talk, speaking of high school, we'll talk a little recruiting. We'll talk Ole Miss football, a little bit of baseball as well, and a lot of other stuff to get to today. Streaming on the Zone1059.com. Back in just a bit.
It's time to get
Back in the game
with Jake Wimberly and the Afternoon Drive.
That's entertainment.
On the station that specializes in the Mississippi sports you love.
Now we talking.
Live and local on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Brought to you by Boykin Contractors, and of course you can find them in Florence, 601-951-7336. That's 601-951-7336. Boykin Contractors, a licensed contracting group, bonded and insurance, here to help you with any of your remodels, from severe storm damages to your kitchen, bathroom, living room, outdoor patio, and more. Contact Bryce and his team today, 601-951-7336, or also find them on Facebook as well. David Johnson, you can find him on X at Rebels247. Check him out, 247sports.com. That's olemmiss.247sports.com. David, happy Tuesday. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
David, we're doing great. Wanted to catch up with you, talk first a little baseball, then we'll jump into football. I want to get your thoughts on, a couple weekends in now, and you look at Ole Miss in the SEC baseball standings, sitting right there, kind of in the thick of things. As far as the standings, 3-3, they're tied with Texas A&M, Mississippi State behind Arkansas at 5-1. A team that's 17-8 and looks to be playing a little bit better baseball than a lot of people actually anticipated coming into this year.
Yeah, baseball is it's a marathon more than it is a sprint, right? I mean,
sure.
I can recall the year that Ole Miss won the national title, sitting out there at Swayze and watching Southeast Missouri State just pound them 13-3. And I left the stadium that night thinking there's no way. And look what happened. And, I think baseball is, I don't guess I want to say chemistry, but, it's a lot like basketball in a sense, in that, a team's got to play together to kind of know each other. And I think that's what's happening with Ole Miss right now. I mean, I think this is an NCAA tournament team. How far they go is anybody's guess, but I like their chances right now.
David Johnson on your radio, Tuesday edition of the program. Of course, find him on X, and then, of course, check him out at 247sports.com. David, spring practice, obviously the anticipation is extremely high for the 2024 Ole Miss football season. I do want to talk a little recruiting here in just a bit, but when you look at this team and on the field, what are the kind of the 1, 2, 3s for Lane Kiffin this spring once they, get through spring. Of course, we'll get into the transfer portal and what may happen with everybody after spring practice. But kind of what are the marching orders for Ole Miss this spring?
Yeah, I think a coming together of everything, all the new pieces that are in Oxford now. I would think that starts with your offensive line. They've got 4 starters returning, but they went into the portal and they got 4 starters from elsewhere coming in. So, that's 8 starters, 8 guys that started games last season, plus, a couple of really good young linemen that are rising kind of quickly behind them. So I'm anxious to see how all that comes out in the wash. And then defensively, we've said the first couple of years, Pete Golding doesn't have the tools yet to put together the kind of defense he's capable of. He's got those tools now. From everywhere from the D-line to the linebacking core to even the secondary, I think is even stronger than it was. So, I think that's priority number one. Even though you've got a great team on paper, you got to make it all come together. And I think that's what they're kind of focused on right now.
David, you mentioned the defense under Pete Golding, excuse me, and you got to go back to 2014, 10 years ago. Ole Miss, I know everybody remembers this. You remember this. Ole Miss gave up just 16 points per game. Now, that's very tough to do even 10 years, with the way the rules are in football, and it's all geared towards the offense. But at 22.5 last year per game, if they got this thing down around 20, and they're going to score it. We know Ole Miss can score it. We know Lane Kiffin knows how to put points on the board. If you're scoring 35, 36 points a game and just giving up 3 scores a ball game, that's going to be a tough out for most anybody against Ole Miss every week.
Yeah, I think it is. And, I think the schedule is certainly softer up front. And I think that's a good thing is, you give this team games against other people to kind of find themselves and pull themselves together before you reach a stretch of games. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but Oklahoma, LSU, Georgia, Mississippi State, a road trip to Florida right before the Egg Bowl. The back end of that schedule looks pretty doggone tough, but, this is a team that's got a lot of momentum, as you well said, and, they just have to harness it and be able to finish. And, let's see what happens. Because, I'm all for Oxford becoming a hotter ticket than what it is. I can't imagine what the weekends in Oxford would be like if you've got an unbeaten Ole Miss team the first weekend of November when Georgia comes to town.
Oh, no, you're absolutely right. And, kind of chalking through this, if Ole Miss was to host one of those first playoff round games, I think they would take that. Obviously, you'd like to get that bye into the second round, but a lot of excitement.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: as far as after spring practice, and nobody knows this, that window opens back up, that short transfer window. Do you anticipate, and I'm asking you to look into a crystal ball that does not probably exist, some attrition there? Does Ole Miss maybe eye another player or two in the portal? If you listen to certain people around the national scene, Josh Pate with 247 and some others, they're talking about, hey, this thing's going to open up and there are position units that are going to change. We saw what happened at Colorado last year. Do you anticipate any movement in Oxford, like, just a player or two here, player or two there, maybe eyeing a player or two that they need?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I can say unequivocally that Ole Miss is going to add another running back. Who that is, I can't tell you right now. Obviously, there's a lot of chatter about Henry Parrish Jr. coming back from Miami. And there's even some chatter out there today that Quinshon Judkins wants to come back to Ole Miss and leave Ohio State.
I saw that.
And
Is
of
that
course, now with the open transfer, you can leave, as many times as you want.
Yeah, I didn't mean to step on you there. I saw something when I was, kind of cruising through X earlier, and I didn't look at who put it out there, and I said, surely not. So that is an accurate report then?
No, I'm not going to say it's accurate, but I've heard rumblings, probably from the same place this guy is, that maybe Columbus is not as warm as Oxford was, and so we'll just see what happens. But they're definitely going to add a running back. As far as losing players, I mean, I think in this day and age, everybody loses players. Whether it's the guy that's not happy with his depth chart situation or what, that wants to get on the field. So I think you're going to see it cut both ways again. You're going to have guys get in the portal, and they're going to bring in guys from the portal. And it's going to make for one hellacious end of April. I'll tell you that.
David, we'll get you on your way with this. I appreciate your time today. We'll do it again very soon. When you look at the 2025 Mississippi crop, we know obviously Caleb Cunningham right there in the battle with Ole Miss and State. You look at Kalen Deere from Quitman, but what is the position group that you're looking at saying, wow, this is the position group this year in Mississippi?
That's a really good question, because this class is really diverse. And I would have to say, though, probably offensive skill, and mainly because of the two guys you just said, Caleb Cunningham and A.K. Deere. Both of those guys are big-time prospects who pretty much go to school where they want to. I mean, I think that's where the championship bounty lies inside the state of Mississippi this year, is which programs, if either one, can keep one or both of those guys inside the Magnolia State.
Make sure to find them, 247sports.com. Of course, that is the Ole Miss Spirit side. And then, of course, grab David at Rebels247 as well. David, I appreciate your time as always. Look, have a great rest of the week. We'll do it again soon.
Thanks, Jake.
Appreciate it. David Johnson on your radio, brought to you by our friends at Sound Communications. Go to soundcomav.com. Collaborate, design, and build. They've been around since 1955. Let them help you in your offices, churches or places of worship, schools, government, or medical facilities, office buildings, and more. Go to soundcomav.com. Back in a bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come to go
Back to the afternoon drive with Jake Wimberly. With the hottest sports stories of the day.
For one of those moments, it only happens
right here
on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Appreciate David Johnson jumping in, talking Ole Miss sports. We're brought to you by the MHSA. Officially become official today. MISSHSA.com. 601-924-6400. Get back in the game, make a little money, keep money in your pocket with the MHSA. We'll have the 2024 baseball championships right here coming up in a month or so on the Zone. All right, let's see here. You can text us 601-885-3776. That is the Cowboy Maloney's text line. Couple stories out here. Sean Payton bluntly reiterates he has no regrets about paying Russell Wilson not to be his quarterback. Do you like Sean Payton? Isn't he pretty just cut and dry guy? He's pretty cut and dry, and he's like, I have no regrets about this. We're going to be fine. He's going to take a quarterback in the draft probably. But you think Jim Harbaugh may be trying to position himself for J.J. McCarthy, even with Justin Herbert there?
No. What he finally figured out, the bullcorn that he is selling. Harbaugh, because most other people not named Jake Wimberly can see him for the liar, cheater that he is. I didn't know anything about Connor Stallions. Bull. So what he's done with all this, because even you, Harbaugh, don't believe that J.J. McCarthy is the, capital T-H-E, the best quarterback in this draft. How could you? Other than the fact that he played for you and you know him. So that's not being objective. What I think he's doing here with this, trying to talk someone into coming up and trading. Because Chargers have the 5th pick. He's trying to talk someone into one of these desperate dummies who's like, oh, we got to go get a quarterback. We gotta overdraft for a quarterback. So he's trying to tell everybody, J.J. McCarthy's so good. Look at this guy. Don't worry about what you actually saw on the field and the lack of numbers and production that you've seen. He even mentioned intangibles, Jake. He even brought that stupid word back. I've talked to everyone. I know his position on the board, his intangibles, everything I'm hearing about, and I'll just say it again, he's the best quarterback. No, you're trying to get someone to trade with you. I think that's what it is.
So the Chargers pick at 10. I see where you're going here. Excuse me. The Chargers pick at 10. Is it 5? Why am I mock draft 2024? This was March 19th. Is this wrong? Courtesy of NFL.com. Let me look here. Let's go over to Walter Football. Let me look here. Bears. Atlanta. Yeah, 5. You're right. I don't know why the NFL, they need to fix that. That was a typo. All right, so they're at 5. So what you're saying is they are using, Harbaugh is playing mind games. All right, for instance, this mock draft. WalterFootball.com. This mock draft was done 13 hours ago. They have Caleb Williams off the board at 1 to the Bears. Drake May off the board at 2, the Redskins. Oh, I love this. Walter Football still refers to them as the Washington Redskins. That's why I read it. They still refer to them the Redskins. Props to Walter Football. New England Patriots, Jaden Daniels, number 3. Arizona Cardinals, Marvin Harrison. And then they've got the Chargers with Malik Neighbors at 4. But the Vikings for McCarthy at 6. Chargers at 5, Vikings at 6. So are you saying that maybe Jim Harbaugh is trying to entice the Broncos at 12 or the Vikings at 6 to get desperate and trade up one spot or try to get in to grab McCarthy? But he's using McCarthy as trade bait.
Well, the Vikings are currently at 11.
What in the world is going on with these drafts that I'm looking at?
I don't know. But the Vikings at 11, okay, they just got Sam Darnold. That ain't your future. Broncos, you just talked about Sean Payton. He wants a quarterback. So you've got 2 right there, 11 and 12. And we're overdrafting these quarterbacks because it's, top 3 likely. Although I still am not sold on what the Patriots are going to do, what Gerard Mayo, the defensive coach, wants to do. But if it shakes out like everyone's thinking, and then you got the Giants at 6, there are rumors. They've been rumored in that J.J. McCarthy slot a few times that I've seen. So they're Chargers 5th spot because you got to move up because there's not. I mean, we're talking possibly 4 out of 5 or 4 of the top 6 picks quarterback. What do you do after that? You can't stay put at 11 or 12. That's what Harbaugh, I think, is banking on.
You're saying, okay, listen to me carefully. You want McCarthy. I coached him. Look at that smile. He's a champion. Look at the intangibles. Trade with me and you can probably get my former quarterback. So he's using McCarthy, his former quarterback, as trade bait.
Think so. I think that's what this whole nonsense has been about.
Well, obviously everybody's buying it because if you just Google NFL Draft 2024, McCarthy is on like every headline. His face is all over the place.
Yeah, and Harbaugh's talking about what a good pro day he had. Pro days. You know who else had an awesome, I remember it so vividly watching Johnny Manziel at his pro day and one of his coaches holding up a broom in his face as he threw. And I remember people talking, analysts talking about, I mean, look at him. They're showing it. I can't remember the exact words, but they were acting like holding up that broom was a whole game changer. Like that did indeed represent a 287-pound defender in your face.
The broom.
And he was like 48 of 50, 49 of 50. in the face of that broom pressure.
The broom pressure. I like that. Dexter, Joe Milton or Spencer Rattler? Are they the real steals of the draft? I think both are better than McCarthy. I think Spencer Rattler, you could make that case. Joe Milton, I'm not ready to go there just because I've not seen it out of him. I've seen it out of Spencer Rattler. He's had moments even in college where he was dialed in. And he had a really good Senior Bowl. He had a really good combine. I'm going with Rattler. I can't go Joe Milton. What about you?
I can see taking a chance on either. If those are my two choices, I'd take a chance on Rattler first. But my thinking is, if they'll fall to the third round, I take them immediately because nothing is guaranteed. You don't have to pay them.
Correct. Somebody will take a chance on Milton because he's big. He does have a strong arm. He's athletic. So some coaches may think he just hasn't been developed properly. We can mold this guy. We can make, and like you said, especially at third or fourth round value, we're not going to put a whole ton of money into him. But what if it pans out and he's, one of these quarterbacks, fourth or fifth round pick, that now he's a starter 3 years down the line?
But with the way McCarthy and these quarterbacks are jumping, desperation basically is what it is. What if they don't ask to the third round? Middle of second, would you take a chance on a Rattler or Milton?
Depends on how desperate I am.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have anything, and people know that. But that's why the desperation is so high at the top. That's why people take risk on Kenny Pickett, Matt Corral. I mean, you just go back to that draft class of 2022. It just your guy. Who's at Tennessee? Not Levis. Who was at Liberty?
Oh, Willis.
Malik Willis. That was your guy. What you all on that guy's?
Oh, you know me. I was all about Malik Willis. I brought him up every day.
We're brought to you by Clinton Body Shop, 601-924-2159. OEM factory certified by the company that made your car to repair your car with OEM factory parts. Also in Richland as well, 601-932-0459. Go to ClintonBodyShop.com. Back in a bit.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And welcome back to the Afternoon Drive with Jake Wimberly, where he's talking about anything and everything that's Mississippi sports.
No, great afternoon.
Right here on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online worldwide on thezone1059.com.
We're brought to you by our friends at BCI. Go to BCIPeople.com. And we are also brought to you by Mack Hike Madison Gluckstadt. Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Chevy Madison Gluckstadt. Let them help you out at MackHikeMadison.com. Great deals like $20,000 off. 0% financing for 72 months available on certain models and makes. And, of course, great deals on all used inventory as well. Go to MackHikeMadison.com or on site for more information. Appreciate Kelley Ford jumping in. David Johnson today. Let's see. We'll get that up later this week. Let's see. 3-Hump Camel. DraftKings has Bo Nix with the best odds of landing in Denver. What do you think about that? We didn't talk about Bo Nix in this draft.
No, that's the crazy thing. And this may sound crazy too, I still think Drake May is going to go second.
That's what a lot of people are at least projecting.
That's what we seem to have been hearing that for, a year and a half now. Caleb Williams, Drake May. And I still think although some places I've read Jade Daniels has hopped up. I really like him too, but I think I would take Bo Nix ahead of Drake May. I like Bo Nix better than Drake May, who seems to be almost a consensus number 2. If he's going to fall to 12 to the Broncos and he's going to be paired up with Sean Payton, give it to me. I would take it if I were a Broncos fan.
No, I think you're right. I think if I'm picking, it would be, I mean, I think that they're both good, but I don't know. Just these North Carolina quarterbacks, have they paid? I mean, we always talk about Ohio State quarterbacks. What about North Carolina quarterbacks? They haven't necessarily just panned out, if that makes sense. Let's see here. Moving along here. Let's see, Dexter. Thanks, Jake. I can see Sean Payton coaching out the bat of Joe Milton as a third rounder. Yeah. I mean, somebody's going to take a shot on Joe Milton. Again, the pedigree is there, and a lot of coaches will look at that and say, well, nobody knew how to coach him in college. We can, and they may. Unnamed texter. Joe Alt to the Titans, number 7 pick, 2024 NFL draft, offensive tackle. Yeah, the Titans, I think if you look at a lot of mocks, they are looking at taking an offensive lineman. Space Ghost. There's talk that Seattle may be looking into the late rounds at John Rice Plumlee like a Taysom Hill. I do not believe that. See, he calls in with a good take in hour one. And now we got John Rice Plumlee as a Taysom Hill. They're not even the same kind of guy. There's no way Seattle's looking at this, are they? And how can you even project in a late round pick? Oh, we're thinking about our 6th round pick now. Is he making this up?
I feel like Space Ghost thinks a lot of stuff in his head is real. I think it's mainly made up, though.
No, I think that you're probably right.
But no, this is the second time I remember a few weeks ago. You read something on the show here one day where someone had written something about John Rice Plumlee could be a Taysom Hill type.
Well, what people look at is the fact that he played quarterback. He's a mobile guy. And Space Ghost, why are you calling the text line? What are you doing? That you can move him around a little bit. But Taysom Hill's a much bigger guy. Like, I don't think you're going to line John Rice Plumlee up as a tight end like the Saints do with Taysom Hill. Are they?
Can't see it.
I mean, John Rice Plumlee is a great athlete. He's an unbelievable athlete, but he's a small guy. You're not going to line him up at tight end. Seattle chose to use one of their 33 visits with Plumlee. Maybe they just have an epiphany for Oak Grove High School. I have no idea. JC, history matters to Jake on North Carolina quarterbacks not panning out, but history doesn't matter to him when it applies to Ole Miss football and high expectations. JC, there's a different feel and a different look with this Ole Miss football team. I mean, they just won 11 games. He says, remember when the Ole Miss propaganda machine was spinning on Plumlee? How you tied both that together? JC, very well done. Speaking of Ole Miss, former Florida football star torches the Gators for lacking game plans after transferring to Ole Miss. Have you seen this? Princely U, and that's what I'm just going to call him, Umanamilan, did not have a lot of nice things to say about his former college football program, the Florida Gators. After transferring to Ole Miss, he went scorched earth on the Gators and its staff. On the flip side, Lane Kiffin and the Rebels received a lot of praise. Princely U, a 4-star recruit, class of 2020, committed to the Florida Gators over 27 other programs. Dan Mullen was the head coach in Gainesville for his first 2 seasons. Billy Napier took over in 2022. Princely U recorded 39 tackles in each of the last 2 years with 11.5 total sacks. The presence of his 6'5", 255-pound frame was consistent and a problem for SEC tackles off the edge. As a result of the blanket waiver granted during the pandemic, he has 1 year of eligibility remaining. Hit the portal, landed at Ole Miss. Ole Miss has a legitimate opportunity, in this article says, JC, not me, to compete for the national championship this year. And this guy could be one of the pieces that comes together. His comments, though, on Florida were not good. Napier, who is coaching for his job, he really went after him, shed some light on why during a press conference on Tuesday after Ole Miss practice, basically just torching Florida, saying that they don't develop, their coaches are inept. I mean, he just went scorched earth on Billy Napier. What do you think about this?
I can't fault or I can't find the saying, tell me when I'm lying. Tell me when I'm telling lies. I don't think he's telling lies on this. I have zero faith in Napier. I haven't from the beginning. And he said other coaches. He said coaches. Well, Florida, remember a couple years ago when we saw that ridiculous Florida picture and it looked almost like there were more coaches than players.
Yep.
In that team photo.
Sure was. It was all his staffers.
So apparently it's the whole argument of quantity over quality. So I don't think this man's lying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Billy Napier's going to make it after this year. Again, I picked Florida to win 2 ball games. I stand by it. They may get 4. That schedule's brutal. They are lacking playmakers. You don't know who's going to play running back. I mean, he's recruited well, but, man, they have leaked like a sieve. Just talent in, talent out. Talent in, talent out. I mean, they're like Space Ghost after leaving a Mexican restaurant. It is in and out. I mean, it is awful. What? The Florida program leaks like a sieve. And I just don't see them. Billy Napier's not going to be there next year. JC, you just mentioning Ole Miss with the national championship is literally propaganda. No one legitimately believes they are contenders. Space Ghost says, seriously. Space Ghost, I love you. Hey, did you know McDonald's is adding Krispy Kreme donuts to its menu? Yeah, they are. Yeah, the menu at McDonald's has undergone plenty of changes over the years. They are adding Krispy Kreme donuts to their menu. The Associated Press reports McDonald's has decided to take a similar approach with the help of a fairly unexpected partner, Krispy Kreme. So what do you think about this with McDonald's?
You know what? I guess McDonald's and Krispy Kreme, the names themselves are they're kind of the leaders. I think McDonald's has gone way downhill since they used to be, but it's still McDonald's. Millions of people still eat there. McDonald's, yeah, I can see this marriage.
See, and I agree with
weird.
It is weird. And I agree with Space Ghost here. The donuts will be $4. Yes, they will. No doubt about it. Thanks to Kelley Ford. Thanks to David Johnson. Remember, ketchup is king. Bacon's a delicacy. Aloha means goodbye. Be a man of increase. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.